All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's panel. With a title like Next is Now, the CEO session, and such esteemed panelists, this discussion promises to dive into the future of retail, but with a present action mindset. We're joined today by 6 incredible leaders who are shaping the future of retail across fashion, healthcare, e-commerce, and lifestyle. A recent PwC survey of CEOs in the Middle East focused on consumer markets found an interesting paradox. 91% of consumer market CEOs are confident about their growth in the next year. Yet, more than half actually, believe that their business will not exist in the next decade if they don't reinvent themselves. So let's dig a bit into this and a bit more into what's happening in the retail sector here in the Middle East. Niraj, I'm going to start with you. With a vast brand portfolio, how do you decide where to invest in the future? And I'd love to hear about one experiment or a bold move that apparel has done recently that has really paid off.
Thank you, Norma. So first of all, good morning, everyone. And in terms of the investments, I think so it's multifold that we are doing currently. So we are definitely investing into our hard infrastructure. We are building a state-of-the-art facility in Jebel Ali, Dubai, as well as in Doha and in Riyadh, Saudi, which is fully automated facilities, which will help us in speed to the market and getting to our consumers closer. And this will also link to the bold move that we have recently made, and that was the X-hour delivery on 6th Street. So today, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, we deliver in 60 minutes, and in Riyadh and Jeddah in 90 minutes. And this is only possible when you make those hard investments into the infrastructure on the ground. And that's also preparing the group for the growth of tomorrow. We have signed about 28 new brands, and this brings me to the second area where we are investing. We're investing a lot in terms of building our private brands, private labels. R&B is one of them, but Babies and More is another one, F5 is third one, and many more to come. So there's a lot of investments going in those areas. The third domain for us would be the various verticals, which we were under-penetrated in the past, and today, in the F&B, beauty, and off-price retailing, we are going deep. So those will be the 3 domains largely at the apparel group, where we are investing a lot. But we are also very bullish on the e-commerce side of the business, and the digital transformation path that we have adopted is going to be going a long way for us in the transformation over the next 24 to 36 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Niraj. I think the survey as well mentioned that 50% of CEOs are looking at increasing their routes and more innovation. John, I'll move to you, also a leader of and operating a lot of iconic global brands regionally, with a few coming up, which I'm sure we'll come to in a bit. How do you strike the balance with driving innovation and initiatives, as we just heard from Niraj, but delivering that ever-increasing seamless customer experience that our consumers in the Middle East demand more and more every year?
Good morning, everybody. A few things to answer. I think first and foremost, there isn't a balance between 2. I think you need to do both. So I think whether it's innovation or whether it's seamless customer experience, you have to do both. You can't choose one without the other. If you think about the consumer today, the young generation consumer, everything they do is on this. They make all of their decisions on this. So wherever you show up, whether you've got the best bricks and mortar, you've got the best online presence, unless you're showing up on this device in the most appropriate way to the young consumer of today, you're really not going to win. So most of what we do in the area of seamless customer experience innovation is on the phone. So whether that's from a delivery aggregator delivering, whether that's on our own platforms, multi-branded platforms, or whether that's just searching on TikTok. How many young consumers today are making their consumer choices, their brand choices on TikTok and other social media? How many of them are following the latest influencers and being led by those? So for us, having the right level of innovation, customer experience starts with a mobile device. And then bringing on to that, you've got your online, you've got your bricks and mortar order, which needs clearly to be joined up. I think from an Alshaya perspective, we look at innovation in a number of different ways. I think first and foremost, we bring innovation to market by bringing in new brands. Back in 2022 on our 3-year plan, that we agreed with our board, we looked at 3 segments that we felt in this region and beyond were under-penetrated, that either we weren't in or was an area of opportunity. That was further development of QSR, multi-branded beauty, and then value apparel or value fashion, if you want to put it in another way. So we attacked all 3. In QSR, we recently launched a brand from the US called Chipotle, that hopefully some of you have tried. Really great food. I'm slightly biased, obviously, but also it delivers very well as well. And that's a brand that we're really going to get after. We opened our first unit in Abu Dhabi last week. We've got really aggressive plans. So we got after Chipotle because we really felt that we could do much more in QSR, because half of Al Shire's business is food and half of it is non-food. In the multi-branded beauty space, we saw a big opportunity. For those of you who've been here like me for many, many years, you see what an incredible job Sephora has done in this market. They are by far the leaders in everything that they do, and they do a really, really good job. So we felt, look, is there an opportunity to take some of that from them, to try and compete with them as hard as it will be? So we scoured the world, and we ended up signing up with a new brand that we launched this year called Ulta Beauty. Ulta Beauty is larger than Sephora in the US. They've never, ever gone international before. We're their first ever international partner. And the first stores outside the UAE, sorry, it's outside of the US, will be in the UAE in Q8 this year. So very aggressive in terms of rollout of that particular brand. It's a fabulous brand if you haven't heard of it before. We're opening our first store in Q8 in November in the Avenues Mall, and then we'll open in Mall of the Emirates before the end of the year. So really going after multi-branded beauty with an assortment that's much wider than what Sephora has. So I'm looking forward to that challenge, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily easy. The third area, which is an area we hadn't played in before, was value and value apparel. And what we felt there was a real opportunity to really get into that, particularly when you look at some of the markets outside of the UAE, look at Saudi, look at some of these other markets where value is really playing. And you see what some of the colleagues that are on the panel today, they're doing such a really, really good job in that space. We felt there was an opportunity there as well. So we signed up with Primark, the Irish retailer, fast fashion retailer, value retailer. And that is, we hope, is a game changer for Al Shire. We really believe it's a brand we can get behind. We really believe it's a brand that will really resonate in the region. So we open our first store in 7 weeks' time. So the clock is on, the countdown is on. So we'll open our first store in the Avenues Mall in Q8 in 7 weeks' time. And then we have 3 stores opening in Dubai in the first half of next year in what we believe is the best 3 malls. So we're opening in Dubai Mall, Mall of the Emirates, and Murdiv City Centre in the second half. So for us, innovation is key, both brand innovation, but also innovation with the brands that we do have. But I think as we move forward, this is such a dynamic region that we're in, that for us, we really, really believe that this is the best place to launch any new brand globally, because we have the consumer here. So lots to do, won't compromise on the offer, won't compromise on anything in terms of delivery, but lots and lots of great stuff coming down the line from Al Shire.
Thank you. That's very interesting in terms of brand innovation is what you are bringing to your customer. I'll move to Massi, which around, Massi, you run a vertical online platform, right? Very specific to one kind of consumer, which is interesting coming after John, who's running a multi-brand. How you acquire customers with the onset of AI changed? It'd be great if you give us a bit of kind of what Mum's World as well is doing at the moment.
Can you hear me, right? Yeah. So indeed, with the introduction of AI and particularly the semantic models, right? So as John was saying, everything happens actually on the phone. If you are not on the phone, you're not going to acquire the customers. The journey of how those customers actually behave on the phone changed. If we step back a little bit, like 20 years ago, when we started to see how Google was operating, we went from a world where there was one source of information, typically books and the likes, or online blogs, that you had to pick. What Google did, Google came and actually gave us the chance to see different results for the same need we had, ranked on a page that allowed you to pick what you liked the most based on ratings. And that created somehow the world of performance marketing as we knew it for the last 20 years, right? So every retailer is pretty much competing on keywords to address at best who you want to target and win on the ranking. And be more, to an extent, we're basically fighting for clicks. With AI coming in, I think also the behavior of people changed. Now we're used to having many, many different results, and we want something or someone, something actually, to help us in the journey by understanding us better. So when you dialogue with the ChatGPT or the Gemini and the likes, you are looking for a result that fits who you are. So the way to acquire customer is quickly shifting from a fight for clicks to a fight for being as relevant as possible in brand credibility, product content, so that these models, when they surface your brand, not only on your website, but across the web, they will push you up. And the space to appear on these, this way to navigate is actually way smaller than before. So the way to acquire customers, it's now shifting much more from a pure technicality to a understanding how that customer fits with your brand, which is actually where we are fully focused on. Of course, we are a vertical. We target mothers, parents buying for children in a specific age group. And for us, it comes natural to really be obsessed by the customer, but how that obsession transforms in how customers navigate the internet is changing dramatically in the past month. We see it from the metrics, and it's going to become more and more of a topic. So it's a great opportunity to reinvent how the brand positioning will be in the market.
How are you doing this? How are you kind of attracting and retaining these customers?
So the way we approach it, it's not looking technically to the keywords slash the channels that will allow you to bring in more customer, rather than focusing on what does a brand stand for. 4 pillars, right? Curation, trust, loyalty, assortment, and support. And on those, build across the journey, not just the content, how the mother experiences us. Because the end destination is, I always ask myself, when I look at my daughters, I'm thinking, will my daughter in 15 years' time, they're young, will they actually use an app like I'm doing? I mean, will there still be this concept of app, or will it be actually dialoguing with something that will help us in their journey? So when you're dialoguing, what comes to mind is the brand awareness, more than the performance itself, because brand awareness to an extent is driving the performance. So when you focus on those pillars, you make sure that the value proposition of those pillars is reflected on beyond the website, the brand, and the touch points. Eventually it appears on the journey. And then of course you need to optimize.
It's fascinating. We're talking about brands again, but in different platforms. I'm going to switch it up a bit from what we had programmed, and I'm going to go to actually Shibu, because you're building a marketplace. So maybe you can give us a bit about what you're doing, and then explain how does that fit in with what we've heard today about brand, and how that is a key to attracting and retaining consumers.
Thanks, Norma. What we are building is actually a cross-border platform where we plan to have the region's largest selection of local, international, as well as cross-border brands for our customers. What we are looking at is presenting that in a curated format, which is easy for our customers to consume. Now, how are we going about doing it? We have spoken a lot about AI. We are also on the AI bandwagon, but we use our people to innovate and AI for efficiency. And I think that part of using AI for the right reasons, for me personally, is very important, because if we start using AI for innovation and people stop thinking, I think that's a recipe for disaster. Instead, we use AI for coding, helping in coding. We use AI for automation. We use AI for a bunch of other things around cataloging, imaging, etc. And the way we are going about implementing AI is looking at making our current operations a lot more efficient. There was something very interesting that I saw recently, which is Disney recently advertised a role for a VP of collaboration and AI. And I found that very fascinating, because I feel that larger organizations need to think about AI through the lens of change management. And if you don't, it's a recipe for disaster again, because of the fact that how you're going to implement AI and how you make people feel safe is going to dictate how technology gets adopted. So I think there is a fair amount of how we think about AI through the lens of people first, innovation, and efficiency.
That's fascinating. Masi, I'm going to come back to you because I know we had an offline chat about this. So it's interesting from a marketplace, AI is to their benefit, but for a vertical online, AI is limiting. I want you to debate this a bit. How do you feel about what he just said?
No, definitely. I mean, I agree that it's a tool, right? So AI is a tool for efficiency, right? But to which extent the tool is used internally and to which extent is used to dialogue with the customers, it's, I think, the topic, right? So especially in the region maybe, but in general, if you look at loyalty to brands, in general, it's reducing. When it looks at loyalty to retailer, it's further reducing. So what customer looks for is value. What we've been used at thinking about value is price, convenience, and delivery. But in the context or searching, what you need through a tool that knows pretty much everything of your personal life, what you look for your kids, and more, and the way you explore it, it's even more valuable for when you decide to land on where you're going to complete the transaction, right? So with you that AI is not like the end, but if it is an external tool that will dramatically change or influence how people will purchase, it's definitely a topic, I think, for today.
On that topic, Nala, I'm going to come to you and around digital health, right? So we've spoken about AI, we've spoken about how it's transforming how we're reacting with our consumer. If you could tell us a bit about what you're doing at Aster Digital and how is AI impacting your strategy and how you're going forward with what you want to do around the integrated life cycle of your patients.
Thank you, Norma. AI might have started out as a buzzword, but actually I'm glad it did, because it kind of kept all of us at toes and to get started with something. What started out as a buzzword, now organizations like us throughout the world, including us, we've already started to see pilot cases, concepts as gone to productions, gone to life. Aster's digital platform, through My Aster, we serve two different market segments. One, the traditional retail, where people are looking for pharmaceutical products, wellness, beauty, prescriptions, and etc. And there, we can already see AI is playing a big role now, not just from the recommendations perspective. Now AI has a lot more touch data points that it can crunch, and it can see based on your previous medical records what could be the right supplements that you should be taking. We have seen cases where people used to take 6, 7 pills in the morning has gone down to 2 pills because they didn't have to take the other ones, or now might not be the right time to take it. But yet, being in retail while using AI, their use cases can be faster, but being in healthcare, it also slows us down because we have to make sure that we cannot be fast and break things in healthcare. We have to make sure things works right. At the same time, we've also seen how AI, operationally, it's helping us a lot. Typical use cases are, of course, still pricing, merchandising, supply chain, and everything else, which are also case for us. But at the same time, as a healthcare service provider, we've already seen how it's helping us, our pharmacists. Our pharmacists get tons of prescriptions that are all catered by 10 different insurance companies. And 10 different insurance companies have 10 different requirements. So all of this permutation, crunching by a single pharmacist, while regulation is constantly changing, had always been a trouble. I mean, this is why we used to have all pharmacists on a monthly basis training programs. But now, with the AI tools that we have, we actually can see that we can give them a life support. They have a support, a buddy from an AI perspective that helps them to solve some of these cases faster. So moving on from the traditional AI supports in the supply chain and pricing and everything else, we're also now starting to integrate that. I think the next step, it will be for sure as a buddy to doctors and nurses. I think we are very lucky. We live in GCC and UAE specifically, where we are able to take bold steps to test these things, compared to other, perhaps the US or the Europe, where we will be bogged down by the regulations and everything. We have the platform, we have the room. I think soon we might start to see some of these cases where supporting the doctors on a support basis, the nurses will be going up very soon.
How are you finding the adoption? Because if I remember maybe now 8-10 years ago when we started talking about online grocery shopping, people said, I'm not comparing, but there is a level, I want to touch and feel. I'd imagine with healthcare, that human touch, that interaction is so important. How are you finding the adoption and how are you getting patients over this hurdle?
It's a good question. I think the best answer is adoption is moving faster than the actual innovation and people understanding what AI solutions are catering. And that's a bit scary and also good. People are adopting to it, both consumers' perspective. I mean, we can see patients, we can see, I even see my daughters asking me, are you on ChatGPT? No, I'm like, no, I'm just on Google. I'm like, why are you not using ChatGPT? So we see patients also start using ChatGPT. Adoption is not the problem, but I think it's about how people are perceiving the results. People are understanding the biasness that exists in these AI tools. Perhaps that understanding and knowledge is not moving at the same pace of adoption. For me, that's the bigger problem.
I think we're lucky we're in a region where consumers and patients will experiment, right? And they are willing, but like you said, it's that adoption. Okay, moving slightly. We're trying to cover the 6 pillars. I promise we'll try as much as we can. Retail is a people's business. It still is. It will continue to be, and that's what it is. So we talk about AI, and I think the session before us as well talked about that human interaction and that connection. In our survey as well, 87% of CEOs are integrating AI into their workforce planning. How do you balance between investing in people while also reshaping roles and capabilities? I'll start with you, Shibo, but I'm opening this for discussion. I think it's relevant to everyone on the panel today.
I think it's about, like I said before, it's about how do you use AI and how do you make people feel that this is not a disruption, but this is an enabler. At the end of the day, people will only use it if they feel safe about using it as a means of efficiency. And the more it is construed to be a disruptor to their jobs, I think there will be more friction. And I think that's what you need to remove. I have personally seen how my teams have adopted AI. I'm very proud of the way they have. It has made them more efficient. With the way we are scaling up, we need to hire less. It's true, we don't need to hire as much with AI coming in, but at the end of the day, it's still a people-first business. And those thought processes, the innovation cannot be replaced by AI. It has to be through people, and the efficiency will be brought in through AI.
Maybe I'll move to Niraj or John, just in terms of your organization and how that's impacting you.
So I think I very much agree with Shibu on this thing. Change management, that safety to the people to adopt AI to get the right results is a key. We started with some small use cases within our organization. So in the intelligent merchandising space, we started with a markdown optimization to begin with. Once we started with one brand, one country, and so on, the use cases established, people are now more than happy to move to the next one. And simultaneously, then we moved next one to a transfer optimization, and soon means there would be another phase of allocation and pricing and so on. So once you establish the proof case, once you establish how it helps you and how it augments you, I think people are willing to adopt that. And that journey is an evolving journey. And I think it will continue.
First of all, you shouldn't be scared of it. I think it's something we should embrace. And I'll give you sort of use cases in the Alshire world. So first and foremost, a lot of our digital assets these days are produced by AI. In conjunction with our brands, but a lot of the stuff that we used to spend a lot of money on, take a lot of time to bring to market and make them locally relevant, is now AI generated in terms of doing it. So in the customer space, big tick there. The second thing, and this is an example of discussions even yesterday, is we're now doing our sales forecasting using an AI tool that we created in-house. And the interesting thing is the conflict between the brand's idea of what a forecast is and what AI is saying. And that whole debate about the data, the quality of the data, that it doesn't really understand, it was this, it was that. And I think over time we'll build that muscle, definitely. But I think it's a muscle that we'll build with more accurate data. But I think we'll end up doing proper forecasting and department plan management and everything else on AI. So I think that will just happen. And you can see some people in our organization fighting it, and you can see some people embracing it.
Yeah.
And with this sort of stuff, you know which way it's going to go. It's going to happen. So you've got to embrace it and you've got to go through it. And then finally, from my own limited standpoint, I'm sure many of you are doing the same thing, Copilot. I'm going to say 1 in 4 of the emails that I reply to now, I get done in Copilot. I have to tweak it a little bit so make sure it sounds like me, because some people I send stuff to say, John, that's not come from you. But it does not save you some time. Wow, geez, it can save you some time. So as long as you're feeding in what it wants you to say and it's learning what it is, and I don't think I've sent anybody in the room a Copilot email, by the way, but even in my own personal space, and I see my kids and everybody else using it a lot, it's happened, it's coming, it's a tidal wave, and it will make us more efficient and better at what we do.
Agreed. Thank you. Ayman. AI at Brands for Less.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know if it's a blessing to speak last, but I'll take that as a blessing.
Because we're getting the topic of value at the end, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. No worries. So I think, as my piece just said, AI has been in the forefront for Brands for Less. I think 5 years ago, we started with AI and automation in our warehouses. And we've, back then, launched our first fully automated facility to make sure that we give the right options to the customer at the right speed. Because I think what really matters today, in today's world, is giving more options, better variety, and the right options at the right speed, at the right price. So it's becoming very complex for the muscles' minds to really process. So that's why we really needed AI, and we still need AI to drive the business forward. Now, forecasting, as Niraj and John said, is really, I think, one main vertical that we're looking at automating or using AI to forecast. Sales, replenishment, those are the 2 main verticals that we will continue to focus on in the next few years. And obviously, different markets require different forecasting based on a lot of data. So I remember, the same way I think John's teams have debated AI versus sales forecasting through data, I think we've been forecasting different customers' needs in each market. And the power of AI here is immense. We've had 12 analysts come up with 1 report, which AI could do in 3 hours because of how big the data is. But then crunching that data and giving it that hunch, which we need in off-price. We always debate, is it science or art? And then I tell them it's science and art. So that hunch is required. And that's where our muscles' minds should really act.
Yes, the data is available everywhere, and especially in retail. It's how to use it and what do you do with it and how to make it more efficient, which is great to see.
Norma, if I may.
Yeah, please.
I think one thing that AI will bring in a big way for e-commerce is actually going to be personalization and hyper-personalization. I think there are companies that are doing it really well today. Shein, for example, has an incredibly good personalization engine, but I think that many more e-commerce firms will adopt AI in a way to hyper-personalize their offerings to their customers. And I think that's going to be a fantastic application because as much as customers love scrolling, I think seeing what is meaningful for you as a customer makes the shopping journey that much more enriching. And I think AI could be a fantastic use case for personalization.
I have a good similar comparison on when e-commerce became the keyword for retailers, right? Yeah. And it reminds me a lot because I actually lived it through. So back in 2012, e-commerce was a keyword. Like everyone through e-commerce, you said like 94% of CEOs and decision makers want to do AI, right?
Yeah.
The same. So 2012 to 15, 110% of CEOs had to have e-commerce. Back then, in my previous role, we were actually colleagues in a previous company. The job was to go and tell the brand to say, come online. You speak with the CEO, says like, absolutely yes. Let me give you the contact of, then you're sent to the CMO, CCO, COO, and back then, when you were speaking with them, it wasn't really in their budget, they understood it, but yeah, it's not their priority. So it took like 5-6 years to really push the mindset of having an org chart of an e-commerce. And COVID came, booster, like from 220, some of the brands that we were really trying to reach out to, suddenly they are the one coming back to us say, hey, we have a head of e-commerce now, that's your guy, like bring everything online, right? And then every brand, like the example before, started to have their own e-commerce because it's not just about being on a general retailer, right? So now if you think about AI, I think it's similar, right? So we see AI through the eyes of ChatGPT and Gemini, mainly, right? But how many have actually developed agentic AI in their offices? How many have actually a BI and data chief officer which has as a mandate to actually build internally? Because, for example, using prescriptions all the way from the integration of prescription to the personalization on checkout, you cannot do it with external tools. You got to have a plan internally, right? So some people are advanced, some other are not, but I think it would be very interesting in the next 2 years to see how the similar shift from e-commerce to AI will actually happen. More people will have internally agentic AI developed with internal models that would make a real big difference on what we're experiencing today, right? So food for thought.
Just to add something to that, because I completely agree with what Massimo said. We spent last week in Asia. I took the leadership team of Al-Shami. We spent the whole week in Asia. And many of you, I'm sure, have been there many times, but I was blown away by how far advanced Asia is, China, Singapore, all of these markets in terms of customer engagement, in terms of delivery customer experience, in terms of the use of AI. We've always, as a company, looked west. We've looked west for our brands. We've looked west for innovation. We've looked west for customer experience. We need to be looking east. Because if you want the most seamless, best customer experience, more in F&B than I'd say non-F&B, it's there. The use of personalization of messaging, loyalty apps, payment mechanisms, etc. You can't order anything if you want a cup of coffee. You basically have to go onto your app, download it from the app, and then they're sending you promotion after promotion after promotion. So I think we're in such a great part of the world where we've got this opportunity to look both. And as I think we've been naive in Al-Shaya because we continue to look west. But if you do get a chance and we all love consumer, we all love retail, if you do get a chance, go and have a look at Asia. It's amazing.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
How fast, and you're talking, this is maybe a decade ago,
Yeah.
when we were looking, we're still speaking about e-commerce, is it on, is it not? They were already very, very plugged in. Okay. To the topic, to the last but not least, Ayman. Shoppers are trading down. We've heard value, and are seeking greater value, especially in fashion. Competition is fierce. You have a lot of global platforms, Shein, Temo, operating regionally, but not locally. They're not present locally. How are you addressing this at Brands for Less?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt. I mean, the likes of Shein, Temu, and others have really, I'd say, scale up operations in this part of the world. It's because there's a drive for value and for value retail. Now, what differentiates Brands for Less is 4 different pillars. One is trust, then speed, then variety, and then discovery. I think the trust in the quality we give, simply because we don't invent it, we buy from brands, and obviously good and better and best brands, which really have the right quality. And then the speed in adapting to what the customers want in different markets and bringing it to the floor as fast as they would like to have, and then obviously sending 600,000 new items every week is a challenge for us, but we still do it, and that's a Bible for Brands for Less. I mean, we do it because we know that we need to send more options and more of the right options to customers, and that's equivalent to around 100,000 new items every single day. And then we go to the variety, which is, again, it's not only fashion, it's fashion, home, toys, beauty, which is, again, an evolving division. And then obviously all the other different categories we hold in a department store. And then we add to that the art of discovery, and then the treasure hunt experience we give, and then the thrill of the find. That's how TJ Maxx calls it in the US, our new partners. And I believe that the thrill of discovery is what makes a difference. And then obviously when you have more than 125 large format stores in this region competing to a global brand, but not yet locally expanding in this region in terms of brick and mortar, then you have an advantage because you're giving that customer the feel of that product rather than just surfing online. So I think these four really differentiate Brands for Less from the likes of Shein and others.
So with TJ Maxx coming in with the Brands for Less acquisition, Primark's entry into the region shows that the value segment is definitely heating up. In your view, is value set to be the next big battleground, retail battleground in the Middle East?
No doubt, absolutely. And I think, thanks to John and the Shaya team, they are now really raising the bar. And that's how we as companies evolve. When there's more competition, especially on that segment, which obviously is the next battleground, I think it's gonna give more value to customers. And again, it's not only the price, it's quality, the price, the fashion, and the options that we're gonna give to customers.
Niraj, any views on that? I know you're in the space as well.
Yeah, we do a combination of both of them with R&B and off-price. So I think value will play a major role, especially Saudi Arabia. And we already have 160 odd stores of R&B. We plan to take that to 300 over the next 2 to 3 years. So value has done very well. In fact, R&B this year has been a phenomenal outlier for us. So, and with Primark coming in, like Ayman said, means it will raise the bar and everybody will up its game. And in the end, the consumer will benefit. So it is good for the whole retail ecosystem with all these major labels coming in. And I think we'll see interesting times ahead.
I think so. John, you want to add?
Yeah, I think there's a battleground here that's being played, I think, between the Middle East players and then the e-commerce Chinese players. Yeah. Because what Ayman does and what Niraj does is fantastic. They do really, really good job. And they're investing. They're investing in the countries, they're investing in people, they're investing in talent, they're investing in logistics. The e-commerce players that just pile stuff into the market don't have to pay any of these costs. They pay no import duties, they pay no taxes. They don't have to register product through health and safety and all the rest of it. So I think us as a group, including Landmark as well, we need to work together to fight the real battle. And that real battle is not us with Brands for Less or us with Landmark or us with apparel. I think it's all of us collectively against what I think is unfair competition. Now, competition is good for the market, it's good for the consumer, but when you think about some of the health and safety regulations, some of the project registration that we all go through, every single day we have to register products. Another product is coming into this market, non-registered, safety, who knows, and then obviously prices and taxes, and talent. We need to grow the talent here, particularly in Saudi Arabia, we need to grow local talent. And all of us on this panel today are investing in these markets, investing in the Middle East. But there is an unfair competition, and we lobby and we talk to governments and all the rest of it, all of us I know across the panel. So I see it fantastic for the consumer, definitely, but I see us all working together to fight the guy that's sending stuff in for nothing, basically.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's fascinating that from a Middle East perspective, we are seeing two very opposing forces. So the value definitely there, but the rise of ultra-fast delivery models, right? I need things delivered in 10 minutes, 6 hours, in half an hour, and consumers are willing to pay for it. And then there's a massive growth, as you just touched upon, John, around the platforms prioritizing price over speed. Obviously, this will change with the competition that's coming into the market, but this is to everyone. I think as CEOs, how do you reconcile this dichotomy in your own strategies, which is, do you bet on speed, do you bet on value, or is there a way that retailers can deliver both, and how? Nada, do you want?
So, I think it's both, right? Consumers want both.
Yeah.
They want the speed. I mean, we see the number of food delivery motorbikes out there. So that's building a habit, and we cannot avoid that. So more and more people are looking for any product they are looking for, even including in pharmacies, in beauty, in wellness, even the Korean beauty products, people are expecting to get it in 30 minutes and 60 minutes. So we do need to cater that. Now, how sustainably we can cater that is something that is what we can control. We are not looking, consumers are not looking to buy beauty products in 30 minutes or 15 minutes. They are okay to wait for a day, or they're okay to wait for 60 minutes. So every minute counts for us. So we do look at product by product, category by category to say how do we optimize for the speed. Now, price is a given. I think no one consumer right now is willing to splurge more just because they have it. Everybody's looking to make sure that the value is that, like we all talked about. Even in our sector, we have companies like iHerb coming from America and just bringing in products that without registration in health and supplements, and we go through months and months of rigorous process of registering those products. So we do feel that pain. So, but we continue to make sure that we are able to go through the right process and give the best price possible and ensure that we give the confidence of the quality. And we take the pride of that. We take the pride the consumers can buy online. They can still reach to the 333 stores that we have. They can still reach that. They have that confidence level. I think we are now playing on both sides. We do have to give the best price, and we still have to ensure that we deliver in the right speed based on the different categories, based on different need. Pharmaceutical product prescriptions, people want it now. So we need to be able to deliver it now. Beauty products, perhaps people are okay to wait for 60 minutes or for a day. That level of understanding and that level of detail that we need to use for our execution at the moment. So right now in my Asta, about 50 to 60% of our products are delivered in 60 minutes, and about 40 to 50% are delivered the same day or next day. So that's how we're balancing it.
I think that's really interesting around, we're talking about some of the global brands, but in healthcare you do have iHerb, and they've recently established, I think...
that's right, in Riyadh.
In Riyadh, to try to decrease that delivery period. But it's around how do you prioritize, I think is really important.
Norma, I think the point about value, I think, is the most important one when it comes to speed. And I personally think that that's how customers look at it. With consumables, for example, grocery, I think there is a larger shift to speed. Whereas for fashion, where there is the entire aspect of discovery, there is the treasure hunt. I think speed cannot always compensate for the discovery that the joy of discovery that fashion can bring in. And I think that is where the differentiation comes in, and that's where customers flex. Having said that, if customers can opt for speed at great value, I think they will go for that. But Shein also has taught us that customers are willing to wait for a week if you give them great value. So I think it's always about how you're offering, what is it that you're offering as a price value proposition to the customer. And if that is strong, then customers will wait. And if there is an optionality, customers may take that. So at the end of the day, customer is the king here.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, we just need to be a little bit careful. It's just not a race to the bottom in terms of, well, I've done it for an hour, I'm going to do half an hour, I'm going to do 15 minutes. All of a sudden, you're just racing to the bottom, and trust me, you'll lose the customer. I think the other piece we've got to be a little bit careful is we're talking a lot about online retailing. Certainly from our business, I'm sure the same for apparel. We make our money, and where we give the best customer experiences in the stores with bricks and mortar. And despite what's going on in the rest of the world, this part of the world is still predominantly driven by bricks and mortar experience, which most of our consumers still want, I think will continue to want. What they use the phone of is to browse and decide what they're going to do. But what we just got to be a little bit careful is here, we don't ignore what is the bread and butter of our business, which is the bricks and mortar retail that we operate and how we operate, and the need to continue to innovate, the need to continue to provide the best customer experience in the most profitable channel for our businesses, which is the bricks and mortar channel. We have to be online. We have to be, whether it's on the food business or the non-food business, you have to be there because the customer's there. But at the same time, you've just got to make sure you get that balance right and the focus both in terms of resources, people, talent, et cetera, because, again, maybe I'm being naive, but I still believe in the next 5 to 10 years, the in-store, in-restaurant customer experience we can give is so important to the consumer in this part of the world.
The ones that if you don't have, you're not going to be there in 5 years, and the ones that, if you have, you can differentiate and grow more, right? And when I look at the region, I think it's fascinating. I was actually counting the number of more than $1 billion valued companies operating online between Saudi and UAE, and it's actually more than 15. So more than 15 players serving the needs online of customers on different pillars. And the pillars are pretty much 4. Value, hyper-fast delivery, very well verticalized e-commerces, so super focused on the customer, or the so-called super app that have a blend of physical goods, sales, and services, right? And what I find very interesting is when there's so much competition, rather you do extremely, extremely well focused one of the 4 pillars, so it becomes your differentiating factors. If you try to do a little bit everything, then tough to have a positioning. So Temu, for example, everyone in this room is saying UAE, it's 15 minutes delivery now, we got to go there. But Temu is one of the fastest growing app, which doesn't offer that, because they're so much value driven in the goods and the bads, that's their entry point, right? Hyper-fast delivery, true that it's very important price, but when one of the players in the region started as a first, the 12 minutes delivery, right? The share of business shifted was immediate, even if prices was not actually better than their direct competitors, right? Similar for the vertical e-commerces. Mamjad has been here for 15 years, very well known across mothers. It's a brand that pushes mothers to shop before necessarily touching upon price, delivery, and the likes as an entry point, right? And then the super apps, Aster Pharmacy, a good example, right? So I think what is important is we're in a blessed market where there's great competition. There's certain things you cannot not have, which is value. If you don't have value, you're dead. But to grow, you got to really identify yourself where you want to play in those 4 quadrants to an extent.
Agreed. Any other comments from, I know we're running out of time.
I can add the journey which we just started on a X hour. So I agree fully with the comments which John made in terms of the consumer experience and so on. But at the same time, when you have an infrastructure of 2,000 plus stores, you can really delight the consumer for that. So today, we do not have any dark stores or any distribution center for our X hour delivery. We are delivering in 60 minutes, but you are catering to an assortment which is limited range. It's not the whole endless aisle for the consumer, but we are confident and we are delivering that within 60 minutes in Dubai. Because you operate in about 70 odd malls in Dubai, you could easily do that, or rather in the UAE. Similar exercise has started now in Saudi, and today I can proudly say 1/3 of the business is coming from this one, which was never there. Because the consumer is evolving. And I don't know, Norma, if there is anybody from Indian backgrounds over here, there are quick commerce companies in India like Zepto and so on, in the last 5 years are touching $7 to $8 billion. This is another theme to be watched at. And we have made baby moves in this direction, but we'll keep evolving as the consumer evolves.
Agreed. Okay. I think we've heard a lot and we've covered quite a bit today. What's very fascinating for me as I try to conclude on many different topics is one strategy won't fit all. I think when you're looking at what you have as a portfolio, as a retailer, it really depends on where you sit and how you look at it. Brands and brand innovation is critical. If you're looking at value, maybe speed is not as important, but in other categories, it will be. So it's around really breaking it down and thinking about what do you want to focus on and what's the strategy for every single kind of sub-category. So definitely not one strategy, and definitely not one thing will make this region innovate only. So AI, digital transformation, quick commerce, value, everything, we've covered it. There's one thing that's clear, I think, for me is the next step for retail is not in the future. It definitely is here, and it's happening right now by what we've seen with our CEOs today, how they're investing in their companies, serving their customers, and definitely reinventing their organizations. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. I hope you all enjoyed the panel.